Check, check, mic check. Check, check, mic check. Welcome to Podcast Envy. I'm your podcast boss, Andrea Klunder. On today's episode of Podcast Envy, we are talking all about sponsors. Show me the money, right? Okay, we're actually talking about all of the annoying ways that you can do sponsors. So, i.e., here's what not to do. Number one, when your show is brand new or has not launched yet, it's not wrong to think about how you might monetize your show or how you might get some ad revenue or sponsors in the future. However, it is annoying for you to expect that with a brand new show, you're going to have sponsors unless you are already a celebrity who is well known for things other than podcasting, who has hundreds of thousands of people who will flock to your podcast automatically because you're you and they already know you, or because you have a huge mailing list or you're a super duper influencer on social media. If you have none of those things and you're starting out from scratch and you have 100 or 200 people on your mailing list, probably not going to get sponsors right off the bat. And that's really just a numbers game. So don't feel bad or angry or annoyed. It's not that you can't get sponsors. It's that, well, it's a little bit unrealistic to think that that's going to be the first thing that you're going to do when you launch your show. So number one, make sure you build your following, your audience, your influence first before you ever even start thinking about sponsors. Number two, Bombas socks, ZipRecruiter, Casper mattresses, HelloFresh, Blue Apron, FreshBooks Cloud Accounting. Do you listen to a lot of podcasts? How many different shows do you hear promoting these various sponsors? If I thought you wanted to listen to it, I could repeat any of those ads in my sleep for you right now. In fact, I'm asleep and I'm about to repeat it. No, I'm not going to repeat them because they're not paying me because they are not my sponsors. When you are looking for sponsors, do not do the same ad spots that everyone else is doing. Number one, they don't pay out that well. Number two, I'm sick of hearing them on every single show. Number three, are you really using all of those services? Really? You, individual podcaster by yourself in your podcast closet, you're using ZipRecruiter to hire who? Exactly. My general rule of thumb is that if you're going to look for a sponsor or affiliate, it really needs to be a win-win-win situation, meaning the sponsor is only right for you if that sponsor is likely to get decent business or traffic or recognition from your trusted listeners. Number two, you are going to get paid out a decent amount when you sell your listeners to this sponsor. Because, yep, that's what you're doing when you have a sponsor. You are selling your listeners' trust in you, their attention, their ears, their time, their brain space, their energy. You are selling it to the sponsor. So make sure you are getting a good deal out of it that makes it worth doing that with the trust and relationships you've built with your listeners. Number three, your listeners really need to get something out of it. Like, it needs to be something that you wholeheartedly stand for and approve of and believe that your listeners need and can use and will provide good value for them. I don't actually do sponsors on this show. What you hear when you hear the podcast Angel music is actually generally an affiliate. Affiliates work differently than sponsors, meaning that I actually only get paid from my podcast angels when you sign up for or buy the thing that they're doing. What does that mean? That means that I put in the work first. I may or may not get paid off of it, but that is one way that I keep myself honest to make sure that I am only recommending things that I actually love, use, approve of, enjoy, feel like offer really great value service for you listening to it. I think that you need this thing or you want this thing. And so, for example, right now, do you hear it? Do you hear the music? Oh, you hear the music. That means you know, you have a cue, you have a trigger in your mind that this is a Podcast Angel spot. This is an ad placement. I have not been paid for this placement in advance. However, I use Libsyn to host my podcasts. All of them. I recommend to all of my clients to use Libsyn to host their podcasts. Libsyn is not free. You do need to pay for it. Generally, $15 a month will cover most podcasts' needs. They are reliable. They are affordable. They are trustworthy. They are leaders in the industry. And for my $15 a month, that's who I want backing up my show. You can get started with hosting with Libsyn at libsyn.com and use the promo code ENVY, ENVY, to get your first first month free. And then when you do that, I will get a little something back the first month that you actually pay for hosting. And if you have been hosting your podcast somewhere free, like Anchor maybe, or something like that, I recommend getting off of there as quickly as possible and moving over to Libsyn so that you have more control over your content and it's not co-branded. Libsyn is not going to put their branding all over your show. It's your show. You own it. You're paying them for a service. That's what you should do. Don't use free. Just my 2 cents. Go to libsyn.com, use the promo code ENVY, get your free month, get reliable, tried and true hosting, and support Podcast Envy while you're at it. Okay, but enough about that. Back to how not to handle sponsors. Number 1 was don't be trying to get sponsors when you're brand new and you have no followers. Number 2 was don't be going for the low-hanging fruit, which are like the brands that are sponsoring all the podcasts for a super low CPM. CPM is cost per 1,000 downloads. And those ones that you hear everywhere, they're low because they're not super targeted. You're looking for sponsors that make sense for you, your audience, and that your audience makes sense for the sponsor specifically. It needs to be a win-win-win. Okay, like, wait a second. You already have a sponsor. You're already in talks. Huzzah, this is amazing. Make sure you do an actual authentic read. Don't just read dry copy that is the same as every other podcast. They might have things that they want you to do, like they want you to say certain phrases or they want you to put the brand name in there a minimum of 6 times and the ad needs to be like a minute and a half long. All that stuff is annoying. That's why I like doing affiliate stuff because really I can say it however feels authentic to me, and that's super important. So see how you can make your read authentic. And it's not about acting. It's about actually endorsing, using, understanding, feeling great about, and being able to wholeheartedly recommend the product or service. Okay, here's a big one. Number 4. So number 3, no fakey reads from standard text that everyone else is using. Number 4, there's a podcast that I listen to from time to time. It's popular. It's good. There are great guests on there. She does a wonderful job. In every single episode, she has like 3 ad breaks. In fact, the other day I was trying to listen to one of her episodes and I always skip forward through the ads and I skipped through the first 6 minutes of her show. 6 minutes of her promoting her own services and then multiple sponsors at the top of the show. There was no content until 6 minutes in. That is far too long, my friends. Far too long. People should not have to be skipping forward 6 minutes. Like, you have to be committed to keep hitting the 30-second forward button to get to minute 7 to get to any content. And if that was the first episode I had ever clicked on of hers, I probably never would have started following her or subscribed. Also, 3 ad breaks? 3 ad breaks? Really? There's another show that I used to really love that I used to be subscribed to. And in fact, it was one of my favorite sleepy time shows. Okay, here's a little sidebar that you need to know. In my mind, I categorize the podcasts that I listen to regularly as morning podcasts, afternoon podcasts, and sleepy time podcasts. And what does that mean? Morning podcasts are generally things that are upbeat, that are humorous, that are informational, and maybe they're not like too deep of topics. So we're not going to get into the nitty-gritty of psychology, but maybe I'll listen to like a podcasting industry show or some business advice, or like Seth Godin's podcast, Akimbo, is a great one to listen to in the morning because it helps me feel inspired and ready to start my day and focus. That's the morning time. Afternoon podcasts for me tend to be more longer format, a little bit deeper. Maybe they're like storytelling based podcasts like Snap Judgment or like a fiction podcast or something. You know, my brain is not so sharp in the afternoon times. I gotta be honest. So I want something that's enjoyable. It's thoughtful, but it's not like learning. I'm not trying to learn or process information. And then the sleepy time podcasts. The sleepy time podcasts are the podcasters who have a really soothing quality to their voice. Krista Tippett on Being is one of them. These shows have to have great audio quality. The podcaster has to have an awesome voice. The music can't be too jarring. And it's usually some kind of topic that I'm really interested in and I want to hear about. But if I fall asleep while listening to it, it's not going to be the end of the world. Like I missed something super important. And if it is, I can always go back to it. So these tend to be more of like the mindfulness podcasts, personal journals of people telling their stories. etc. Another one that I really like is Insights from the Edge with Tammy Simon. And there was one of these podcasts that was one of my perfect sleepy time podcasts. I'm not going to call this one out, but somewhat recently, several months ago, this show was acquired by a podcast network. And when this network picked up this show, great news for the podcaster. However, suddenly we started getting multiple ad breaks, multiple sponsors, and guess what? They're mostly those same sponsors that we hear on everyone else's podcast. Yep, ZipRecruiter, Bombas Sucks, all the ones I said in the beginning of the podcast, these, which, to me, have very little to do with what this person's show is about. Not only that, and I don't really believe that this podcaster is using all of those services, so there's that too. Also, the music, the music that goes with these ad breaks. The music and the timing are terrible. So let's say you have an hour interview and you're talking about something really serious, like somebody's cancer diagnosis. Yes, this happened on an episode. She was talking about her cancer diagnosis, and as soon as she dropped the bomb on that, then suddenly this jazzy music came in, signifying that now is the time for an ad, and we are hearing about something inane like socks or MeUndies or whatever. It totally disrupted the flow of the story. It disrupted the energy. I was there. I was with her. It was emotional. And then suddenly this jazzy music is coming in selling me socks. Come on. And it ruins my sleepy time mojo because the rest of the show is so chill. Good audio quality, lovely sounding voices. The theme music is not disruptive, but the ad music is like a television commercial where the commercial is louder than the actual content. So you've got this upbeat jazzy music that comes in at an inopportune time. It's louder than the rest of the content, and it totally throws me out of the emotional flow of the story. I can't listen to that show anymore at my sleepy time. It pisses me off, and I unsubscribed from that show. Occasionally, I will download a specific episode, but I'm no longer a subscriber, and I no longer listen to every episode. And sure, you might be saying, I don't mind if the podcasters, they need to make money. It's great. Yes, I want podcasters to make money, but that is not the way to do it, in my opinion. And that is the way to lose listeners. And sure, his show is still super successful and super popular, but if I unsubscribed from it and I'm annoyed by it, I guarantee I'm not the only one. As much as you all think I am, I'm not that kind of a special unicorn. I swear, if it's annoying me, it's annoying other listeners. And what I say, especially if you're building your podcast and you're kind of new, don't give people a reason to unsubscribe. Don't give people a hurdle or an obstacle to listening to and loving your show. Don't take them out of the flow of your story. I'm very conscientious about the way that I put my affiliate spots into these episodes. And I'm not even trying to tell an emotional story. I'm getting emotional right now and waving my hands around and talking really loud. But that's because the podcast network changed the flow of this podcaster's show that I used to love and is messing with my sleepy time podcast mojo. Don't do it. Okay, I think that's about all I want to say about sponsors right now. Number one, if you're brand new and you don't have a super good following, it's not time to think about sponsors just yet. Number two, don't be a lemming and follow the crowd with the same old sponsors that are on every show. Plus, your sponsor's got to be a win-win-win for the sponsor, you, and your listeners whose ear time you're selling. Be responsible. Number three, don't do a dry read of boring generic copy. Make it authentic. Number four, don't make me skip ahead 6 minutes to get to your content. Don't have 10 sponsors on your show. Don't take a million ad breaks. And number five, stop messing with my sleepy time mojo. Yes, you want people to hear your sponsor. And yes, you want your sponsor to get attention. And yes, you want our sponsor to make money from your show because that's how you get paid. And we all want our podcasters to get paid because we want them to keep podcasting and not have to work 5 million jobs on the side. I get it. But be conscientious about where you're placing those spots, how you're doing it, and how it fits in with the overall vibe and energy of your show. Does that make sense? Do you agree? Do you disagree? I'd love to know. Go ahead and leave me a ranty review, seriously, or a great review in Apple Podcasts, or head over to podcastenvy.com, click the contact page, and send me a message. You can even send me your own ranty response to this, or just, genuinely share your thoughts and feelings without getting overly emotional in a voice memo, and I'd be happy to play it on the show. Don't forget, if you're coming to Podcast Movement in Philly this July, I am speaking Wednesday morning at 11 a.m. Not too early, not too late. It's perfect. My talk is called Power Your Story, High School, Autism, Diverse Learning, and Podcast Mentorship. Get an inside view to Podcast Tech, Power Your Story, a podcast mentoring program created for students with diverse learning challenges and at a Chicago public high school in partnership with a major after-school education programming partner. The podcast explores themes of society, culture, education, and life in general through interviews, personal stories, and educational pieces produced by the students themselves. This session is designed to inspire you with fresh ideas for how you too could become a professional podcast mentor to students, diverse learners, or any particular group of people who want to learn to use the power of podcasting to amplify their voices. You'll also get specific tools and tips for how to implement a high-quality program that makes a significant impact on you, your students, and your community. Remember that win-win-win? It applies here too. I'll see you at Podcast Movement. And in the meantime, leave me a review, drop me a line, ask me a question. I'd love to hear from you. That's podcastenvy.com, and you'll hear me again real soon. Podcast Envy is produced by your podcast boss, Andrea Klunder. That's me. The Podcast Envy theme music is by Valentin Sosnitsky, courtesy of the Free Sound Project at freesound.org, and our podcast Angel music is by Benjamin Mastropolito, also on freesound.org as Lemon Cream. All music is licensed under the Creative Commons. Our episodes are mixed by Edwin Ruiz, and hey, if you want your show to sound as good as ours, hire us. Put the magic audio mojo of the Creative Impostor Studios to work for you. Thanks so much for listening, and here's to making your podcast the envy of everyone else.